Don't all spam home. Spread out. Yeah, there you go. That was probably the most brutal competitive game I ever played. Look at that smack. What? Oh, really?
Sensations make me feel the pleasures of a normal man. These sensations spare the insults, leave them for another day. I've got the spirit, lose the feeling, take the shock away. Getting faster, moving faster, now it's getting out of hand. On the 10th floor, down the back stairs, into no man's land. Lights are flashing, cars are crashing, getting frequent now. I've got the spirit, lose a feeling, let it out somehow. What means to you, what means to me, and we will meet again. I'm watching you, I watch it all, I take no pity from your friends. Who is right, who can tell, and who gives a damn right now? Till the spirit new sensation takes hold, then you know. Till the spirit new sensation takes hold, then you know. Till the spirit new sensation takes hold, then you know. I got the spirit, but lose a feeling. I got the spirit, but lose a feeling. Feeling, 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 feeling. It's what we've been shown. We're living by your rules. That's all that we know. Hold on to your points. Seize theirs.
Huh?
I tried to get to you. I tried to get to you. I tried to get to you. Well, I tried to get to you.
Yes.
Steven, does your mom have a Facebook?
Yeah.
Send it to me.
It's just Melanie Alexander.
Yeah, I looked it up, but she doesn't have a. Is this her? It has like nothing on it.
Let's see.
It won't load. Wi-Fi is bad.
Yep.
Oh, not loaded for you.
That's her.
Let's see if she accepts.
And I didn't have a job. I couldn't get a job. Once like word got around unofficially about my trying to file a complaint, filling out a form and stuff, it's like no one on the Hill. Usually I would get, like, when I would send out resumes, I would get responses right away.
That was a clip from journalist Katie Halper's interview with Tara Reid. Reid alleges a sexual assault by then Senator Joe Biden. We spoke with Tara last week about her allegation as well. Since those conversations, some in the mainstream media have started to cover the story. Biden can't deny the allegations in a statement to Fox News, saying that women have a right to tell their story and reporters have an obligation to vet those claims.
In a statement provided by the Biden campaign, the former vice president's executive assistant said, quote, "For nearly 20 years, I worked as Senator Biden's executive assistant and supervised dozens of employees who reported to me." She went on to say, quote, "In all my years working for Senator Biden, I never once witnessed or heard of or received any reports of inappropriate conduct, period. Not from Ms. Reid, not from anyone. And when we reached out to the Biden campaign, we also received no response about the story." So some have lobbed smears at Tara and our next guest representing Tara's claims. Katie joins us now via Skype. She hosts the Katie Halper Show and a co-host of Useful Idiots, which is a Rolling Stone podcast. Katie, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Great to see you guys too.
Absolutely. So, Katie, you were the first person to have an interview with Tara Reid before the allegations broke in Ryan Grimm's reporting at The Intercept. Since then, how has the media handled the story? We've seen some pickup, I think, in Newsweek and The Guardian and some other outlets. What has your general assessment of it been?
Well, I think, just to correct it, Ryan Grimm wrote a story and then I interviewed Tara. And what Ryan Grimm's story was about, as you guys have covered, was about the fact that Tara went to Time's Up, an organization which is supposed to exist precisely to support women who have Me Too allegations, and it exists precisely for women to get support. And as people know, and if people didn't know this, this episode has proved this beyond any doubt. If you want to tell your story, there are very powerful people, institutions, there are very powerful disincentives from you telling your story. And she was told that she couldn't be taken on, she could not be represented, she could not be supported because the person she was accusing was Joe Biden. So this is an issue of the Me Too women mantra which was established precisely because there are so many obstacles for women to come forward. This is an instance of the Me Too mantra being turned into not Me Too mantra, the Believe Women mantra being turned into Believe Women if politically convenient mantra, or Believe Women or Vet Women. I mean, you have Biden himself has said women have the right to be believed, but yet someone from his campaign is saying they have the right to be vetted. Again, there is a nuanced conversation we can have about how to report on these issues and how Believe Women can be applied and should be applied, but that's not what we're seeing now. What we're seeing now is totally partisan double standards. And in fact, I just want to clarify, I believed Anita Hill, I believed Juanita Broaddrick, who's been totally smeared, and I almost don't want to bring that up because I think that people will then dismiss me. But I urge people to listen to what Juanita Broaddrick said and not look at her politics, with which I
no one's even
wholeheartedly
playing.
disagree, by the way. And I also think she's credible. And I believed Christine Blasey Ford, and I believe Tara Reid. And I urge people to just listen to Tara Reid's interview. And what I did was I provided her a way to tell her story. And I didn't want to be the person who did that. But unfortunately, after reaching out to countless people who usually report on this, Tara was not able to get a single response from journalists who usually report on this, and also was not able to get any support from Time's Up. And also what we're seeing now is literally the same people who rightly, totally justifiably, and I was one of those people, the same people who were so angry about the way that Christine Blasey Ford has been smeared, called a liar, questioned, victim blamed, slut shamed. These very same people are doing the exact behavior that they rightly condemned to Tara Reid.
That's one of the things that to me has been remarkable is, after you interviewed Tara, we had her on here and posted the interview, and the replies to it from a certain group, suddenly they sound, the exact same people who would have used that hashtag Believe Women, suddenly they sound exactly like Trump defenders. Suddenly they sound exactly like Brett Kavanaugh defenders. Even, the arguments that they're making, oh, this was a long time ago, who cares, right?
Right.
Or let's look at her politics because that's what really matters. Like, would you expect a woman who has been sexually assaulted by a candidate to be supporting that candidate? It's just, to me, it's mind-boggling. And then the media part of this is I think, really important, too, because like you said, you want Tara to have a fair hearing and for the claim to be appropriately vetted. I think that's what anyone would want. And yet the mainstream's interest was just in ignoring this. And we know that that's the case because even after you publish this interview, Ryan publishes his story, we post our interview, a few places picked it up. But like on Yahoo News, they actually moved the story. This is so bizarre. I've never seen this before. They moved the story from whatever vertical they originally had it in into the sports section, which meant that the link that everyone had posted on Twitter of the story was then broken so that you couldn't find it. And then I think they moved it even one more time. It was a bizarre way to try to bury this story. They couldn't take it down entirely. They just kept hopscotching it around between verticals to keep breaking the link.
Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost, in a weird way, Yahoo did Tara and all people who are afraid to come forward a favor because they revealed accidentally how incredibly hard it is to tell your story, to even have people pay attention to it at all. And it's kind of perfect. Well, I saw someone joke that it was in the sports section because the assault that Tara alleged happened when she was asked to bring Joe Biden his gym bag. So that's why I was in the sports section. But the other reason, right, I know.
It's locker room talk, Katie. That's why.
It's locker room talk also, but it's perfect because she's a political football. So what a great place to put that story. And yeah, I mean, again, it's like if we don't talk about these things and we say that they're okay if they're a Democrat who does them, what are we doing? We're turning people into tools of Breitbart. We're turning people into, sorry, Sagar, but they're becoming the tools of precisely the people who we on the left disagree with. And if we don't want people, look at what Juanita Broaddrick did. She went into the open arms of Donald Trump because nobody else would listen to her. And this is a woman who had voted, by the way, for Bush, but she also voted for Obama. This was not a right-wing woman. And what happens? No one None of the progressive feminists let her say anything. She was marginalized. She was a conspiracy theory. Go back and listen to her. But in terms of, that's one story. And but in terms of this story, again, if this woman, Tara, has said this, she does not like Trump, and she does not want to be used by the Trump campaign. And again, if we don't tell these stories, or if the mainstream, establishment media won't tell them, who are we leaving these people to talk to? And I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want Tara to be forced to talk to people who work for the Trump campaign just so she could get her story told. And look, again, is it believe women, or is it believe women only if they come out within a certain time period? Tara's story was more recent than Christine Blasey Ford's, who I believe. Tara told people at the time, Christine Blasey Ford's piece, they said this about Anita Hill. Why now? They said this about Christine Blasey Ford. Why now? Isn't this a coincidence? And I just urge people to not be such blatant hypocrites about all of this. And again, listen to Tara for yourself. And if you think it makes sense that Time's Up, we now know, admitted, okay, this is what's amazing. Time's Up admitted they couldn't represent her because she was accusing Joe Biden. And they came up with some excuse about how that would jeopardize their tax-exempt status. And also, one of my favorite parts about this is that people are trying to discredit Tara. Besides, they're going through her financial records, because apparently only believe women if they are wealthy, right? That's the other rule I didn't know about. But they're going after the story because it comes from The Intercept and Ryan Grimm. Okay, again, thank you. Just like I thank Yahoo for putting the story in the sports section, I want to thank everyone who is smearing The Intercept and Ryan Grimm for his reporting and from coming from that outlet. Because guess who broke the story about Christine Blasey Ford? Ryan Grimm at The Intercept. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's almost over the top. It's almost too much. It's almost like if I read this in a screenplay, I'd say I don't believe this. And yet it's true.
Yeah, I mean, what baffles me is these are the same people who had no problem printing the most ridiculous things I've ever seen from Julie Swetnick and other people during the Brett Kavanaugh things in the major papers of record with no verification, claims, whatever. And yet something like this comes forward and it just gets completely quashed. As you say, I mean, I think it exposes hypocritical nature of the media and what gets to get covered and what doesn't, Katie. And this is all ultimately about protecting a democratic establishment.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because I think you and I probably have different standards, Sagar, about believe women. But what we agree on is that there should not be double standards and such rank hypocrisy, because it also cheapens this, right? You're cheapening the discourse. You're cheapening the entire Me Too Believe Women movement when you make it totally partisan. And people see this, and then they see it as a political tool and not as a committed principle, which is what it should be. And again, Tara's story, the response to Tara, the slut shaming of her, the victim blaming that she's facing, the you didn't tell it in the right time period, the why now, all of these things. I mean, I could make a game, a quiz that's who said it, Tara Reid skeptic or Christine Blasey Ford skeptic, and I bet you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point.
It's just absurd.
Yep, the hypocrisy is really the thing.
Yeah.
Katie, thank you so much.
And I really urge people,
always love
please
having
listen.
you.
And please listen to the interview. I'm not saying this like I don't, listen to the short clip of it. Listen to the long clip of it. She has the right to be heard. I think she has the right to be heard, and she tried to be heard. And she tried to be heard.
Yeah, they probably just came right back. Okay. Shall we meet up with my other teammate?
Try another build.
Let's get this thing off the ground.
goddamn nerds.
Now I'm a god. We've got a hot one for you.
Nothing is over until we decided it.
Now I'm a god. We've got a hot one for you.
You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds.
Oh, there was two though. I had to reload. It's alright. At least I killed them.
Running full system diagnostics. Machine status fully operational. System online. All stations are now enabled. Target dog the resistance. Operation Overkill. Operation Overkill. Kill them all.
Go ahead.
I'm encouraged. All right.